Moi! Tässä videossa me luetaan resepti suomeksi. Welcome to my channel, I'm Heidi, and in this video we are going to read a recipe in Finnish. In this video we are going to learn common kitchen vocabulary that you'll need for baking. You will also see an example of a real Finnish recipe together with the translations so that you can follow along. I will explain also what measurements we use in Finland, and at the end of this video you will also see how my cookies came out by using this real recipe. Let's get started. Before we get into the recipe itself, we are going to see some common verbs that you'll need to understand the recipe. You have them here in their basic form, in the infinitive form. Sulattaa. Sulaa. You might ask, what's the difference between these two? In Finnish, we have something called transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Well, basically all languages have transitive and intransitive verbs, but in Finnish, we often have two different verbs depending on whether the verb has a transitive function or intransitive function in the sentence. Sulattaa is a transitive verb and sulaa is an intransitive verb. If you would like to learn more about transitive verbs and intransitive verbs, this is something I explain in detail in my Finnish Intermediate course. You can find more information about this course in the link in the description, but I'm not going to get into the abyss of grammar in this video because the focus is on vocabulary and on actually being able to understand a recipe in Finnish. Next we have kiehua and kiehahtaa. You might guess that, well, maybe this is the same kind of difference between transitive and intransitive verbs. Well, not exactly. Kiehua is an intransitive verb and kiehahtaa is also an intransitive verb, but the difference is that kiehua refers to the action of boiling in general, and kiehahtaa means that something boils up. It's like the first time the liquid starts to boil. Then you can use kiehahtaa. For example, odota että vesi kiehahtaa. Wait until the water boils up. It might not mean that you need to actually boil it for a long time, but just until it boils. And next we have lisätä. Lisätä. Sekoittaa, sekoittaa. And käyttää, käyttää. And by the way, you'll have all of these verbs in the example recipe that you're gonna see in this video. Kääntää, käännellä. Kääntää means simply to turn. You can turn something once, for example, a pancake. But then if you have to continuously or repeatedly turn around something, you can use käännellä instead. Jäähtyä, jäähtyä, to cool. Anna ruoan jäähtyä. Let the food cool or cool down. Annostella, to dose. Annostella. Paistaa, paistaa. Paistaa has two meanings. It can either mean that you fry something, for example, on a saucepan, or that you cook something in the oven. Both actions are paistaa. Koristella, koristella. Asetella, asetella. And now we are going to get into the recipe. Suklaahippukeksit. Suklaahippukeksit means chocolate chip cookies. And you can see that we have first ainekset, ingredients. You can see the translations here on the right side to help you to follow in case there are some new words, but I'm also going to walk you through and explain it more in detail. Because when we are reading recipes, it's not always simply about vocabulary. At least what is the hardest part for me is if I'm reading, let's say, an American recipe, is I'm like the measurements. The measurements are a mess. if you are used to specific measurements in your country and you have completely different measurements in another country. Well, in Finland, we generally use deciliters and grams when we are talking about recipes. So here, when you see G, it means gramma, gramma. DL means decilitra, decilitra, meaning deciliter. If you don't use deciliters in your country, maybe this helps to have an idea how much is 1 deciliter. This is 1 deciliter cup, and basically almost in all Finnish homes, we have measurements that have deciliters, right? So here you can see that we have 1 deciliter and also half a deciliter marked very clearly. And yeah, I use this for baking. Then we have TL, which means teelusikka, teaspoon. And to make it easier for you, I made a conversion of these measurements so that you would have them also more Americanized. I figured out that in the States, normally you use cup as a measurement, which is, well, very strange for me, because the first time I read about cup in a recipe, I was like, what on earth? Like, cup can be of any size, right? And it was very confusing. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna look for another recipe because I don't understand how much I actually have to put flour in here or something. And yeah, then I figured out that actually it's a specified amount that apparently all Americans know. Yeah, I figured out that, at least based on my research, it means 240 milliliters. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, you have also the grams in there. And one more thing that you often see in Finnish recipes is KPL. We never say KPL, we say kappaletta, which means pieces. So in this case, we have 16 kappaletta, 16 pieces, meaning 16 cookies, because we are talking about a cookie recipe. Very useful abbreviation as well. You can see it also in supermarkets when you're buying, I don't know, maybe different amounts of fruit or packages. You might have some special offers for 2 pieces that you get at a better price, and so on. Well, let's get into the vocabulary itself. I'm gonna read it through in Finnish and you can follow together with the translations if you'd like. Ainekset. 175 grammaa voita. 1,5 desilitraa sokeria. 1,5 desilitraa fariinisokeria. 1,5 teelusikallista vaniljauutetta. 1 teelusikallinen leivinjauhetta. 1 teelusikallinen ruokasoodaa. 0,5 teelusikallista suolaa. 1 iso kananmuna. 5 desilitraa puolikarkeita vehnäjauhoja. 2,5 desilitraa suklaahippuja. You might have noticed that I always use a partitive with deciliters and with numbers that are bigger than 1. That's why we always have, for example, sokeria, fariinisokeria, vaniljauutetta. All of these are in partitive. The only word here that is not in partitive is kananmuna, because it's 1 big egg. 1 iso kananmuna, when it's 1 concrete thing, then we don't use partitive. When it comes to fariinisokeri, this was actually a little bit difficult for me to translate because I'm not really an expert on sugars. Apparently there's like a lot of different types of sugars and I had to look this up. So fariinisokeri is one type of brown sugar, but not all brown sugars are fariinisokeri. So as a more specific thing, I wrote here the definition what fariinisokeri is. The translation I got was like light brown sugar or brown sugar, but yeah, not all brown sugar or light brown sugar apparently is fariinisokeri. So just so that you know, fariinisokeri is made from white sugar and molasses, which gives it a moist texture. I'm gonna show you what fariinisokeri looks like. So alright, here we have fariinisokeri. It's pretty sticky looking. Yeah, brown, but pretty sticky. Like as if it had like some syrup in it as well. And it's really good for cookies, apparently. At least the cookies that I tried with this recipe came out pretty well. And as a comparison here, we have normal white sugar. Yeah, you can see that all of the grains of the sugar are pretty separate. They are not sticky. But yeah, if we compare this one, like you can, mold it even a bit, like as if it was some sort of paste. Do you use fariinisokeri in your country? And how do you call it? I would be interested in knowing, especially if you know if there's a better translation for it. I'm gonna leave the link to the original recipe below. So I actually got it from a real Finnish website, which is, in my opinion, the best website for baking stuff. I'm not like a huge baker myself, but I like to do sometimes something nice, like cookies or some stuff for Christmas, for instance. You can find tons of recipes on that website in Finnish to practice more if you want. How about the instructions? Here you have the instructions in Finnish, and I'm first gonna read them through. Try to understand as much as you can without any translations, and after that, I'm gonna show the translations to you. Sulata voi kattilassa niin, että se kiehahtaa. Lisää sokerit joukkoon. Anna sokereiden hieman sulaa joukkoon. Sekoita joukkoon vaniljauute, leivinjauhe, ruokasooda ja suola. Lisää reippaasti käsivispilellä sekoittaen muna. Sekoita vehnäjauhot taikinaan muutamassa erässä. Käytä puulastaa, jonka avulla taikinaa on helppo käännellä. Anna taikinan jäähtyä huoneen lämpöiseksi, jotta suklaa ei sula taikinan joukkoon. Lisää sitten suklaahiput, säästä kuitenkin puoli desilitraa koristeluun. Here you can see what lasta looks like. And this is not a full recipe, as you maybe noticed. It will continue, but first let's get through the first part. In Finnish, we can use the word ohje, instruction, either in singular or in plural. We could also say ohjeet, instructions. Now, when you look at the recipe, you might notice that we use imperative forms all the time. Sulata, anna, sekoita, lisää, sekoita, käytä, anna, lisää. All of these are imperatives, meaning melt, mix up, give, mix up. If there was something you didn't understand, you can stop the video and check the translation. And when you're ready, let's move on. Ohje jatkuu. The instruction continues. Annostele taikina 2 lusikan tai annostelukauhan avulla nokareiksi pellille leivinpaperin päälle. Paista 200 asteessa 6-7 minuuttia. Ole tarkkana paistoajan kanssa, sillä uunien teho vaihtelee. Älä paista koviksi, vaan anna keksien ruskistua reunoista, mutta jätä keskeltä pehmeiksi. Asettele lämpimien keksien päälle loput suklaahipuista. Ja katsotaan myös käännökset. And let's see also the translations. If there was something you didn't understand, you can stop the video, read the translations, and then we'll move on. If you're actually gonna try this recipe, as a warning, I did not do the step number 8. Place the rest of the chocolate chips on top of the warm cookies. Asettele lämpimien keksien päälle loput suklaahipuista. I did this before I put them into oven because I just thought that it would be way more logical. So yeah, that would be my tip, I guess. They came out pretty well because their time in the oven is still very short. So they're gonna come out pretty well if you put them onto the top of the cookies before the oven. Because after that, I don't even know if they're gonna stick into the cookies. I doubt about it. But yeah, this was what the original recipe said. And now it's the time to show what my cookies actually look like. Here you can see a picture of 2 of these cookies. They came out huge. So yeah, if you want smaller cookies, it might be a good idea to put very little of the dough. Well, I like huge cookies, so it's not really a problem, but it's up to you. And I still actually have some of them left. So here you can see it. If you feel like it was really hard to follow the recipe today and it was full of new vocabulary and you would need to prep up your Finnish vocabulary regarding kitchen and cooking and baking, I highly recommend that you download my food, drink and kitchen memory game and flashcards, because this is a very easy way to practice everyday vocabulary that you will need. And also you have example sentences in spoken Finnish. So you'll actually learn how to use these words in your daily conversations and in your daily life in Finnish. And yeah, this pack includes 2 versions. It includes a memory game version that you can play together with someone, for example, with your Finnish friend or with your Finnish significant other, and practice together in a fun way that doesn't feel like studying, but you're still learning, or even with your kids. Or you can use these as flashcards. This pack is suitable for all learners from A1 till B1 level. Yeah, you can see just a quick example how the flashcards look like. You have the basic form, the translation, and an example sentence and translation to that example sentence. And all of the flashcards are with images. This would be the version of the memory game. Then if it's the flashcard, of course, then the translation is on the other side so that you can practice also on your own. This is a huge pack of vocabulary. In total, it has 128 flashcards in total. And remember, both flashcard versions and memory card versions. So you have several pages of useful vocabulary together with example sentences. Language learning requires a lot of repetition, and this is a simple and nice way how you can do that. You can find the link to the material in the description. Kiitos kun katsoit. Thanks for watching and happy baking!